So ideally, what we're looking at is we're looking at the production screen, okay? This should be the same in all the prod rooms eventually. There's like, one of the prod rooms is still on audio vault. Eventually they're going to switch it over. In the production machine, they get a library, and then they get a playlist widget, okay? Ideally, what the library allows them to do is if they're looking for any kind of file in the system, in the production room, you can find anything between any of the stations, whether it's HD, KBAQ, or KJS. Think of it as a Google search. If I search in the word "the," it's going to find anything that has the word "the" in it. As I was showing some of the other staff, if I type in 1000, it finds anything with the word or category number of 1000. Okay? With the system, we're category based, means each station has a list of a 3-letter category. In this case, one of them is QFD, which I'm assuming is KBAQ something. I don't even know what that category is. QID is a good example. That's because that probably means that's IDs for KBAQs. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then they have a 4-digit number that they can put in the system from 000 to 9999 because they're using digit base. They can use alphanumeric if they wanted to, but they're in the habit of using digits, so that's okay. Meaning if I put a file into the system and it's supposed to go into cart 1000, they'll put it under QID 1000, or it could be the promo, which could be QPR 1000, and that's how they'll load into the system, which I will show with Adobe Audition how they're supposed to load stuff in. But when they're looking for a file, they have the ability then to take that file, and there's like a little full edit, and they can like preview that file or listen to that file. Come on.
Arizona Oncology, together with the U.S. Oncology Network, bringing the
Okay, they can listen to the file. They can go to tools. They can go to the waveform. They can kind of snippet up the file, cut it up, make it short. This is what they're doing to all the music for KBAQ, to some of their EOM markers, which means here's the end of the file. There's an EOM that's kind of in the middle. It's in the wrong spot, so they're moving it to the end, and then if there's any dead roll in the file, they're kind of trimming it up. They're trying to fix their files as they go. Usually what happens is if I make an adjustment to a file, so let's say I'm just going to put a period, so Mr. And wrong keyboard. I put Mr. and now it made a change to this file. If I hit save, that's going to upload the file. So if I hit save, that file just uploaded to the system and it successfully uploaded.
Doesn't override the original.
It would overwrite the original.
It was.
In this case, it overrided because I made some changes to the physical file. If I change the audio, like let's say I re-record new audio into that file, there was a little record button at the top. Okay. It'll ask, do you want to overwrite this file? If they hit yes, they overwrite it, and then they save it, and away it goes. Okay. When they voice track, they use this little yellow widget, which is the player widget, or playlist widget. It's blank in here because this is a production room. If you go into the Air Studios, their schedule for that station is usually running in there because they're on the air with it. In production, there's no schedule. So what they're typically doing is they're kind of going to more, and they open a playlist, and they choose what station they're opening. Mm-hmm. So in this case, if I was opening KBAQ to voice track, they choose their date, and then now it's going to pull their schedule up, and then they see a voice track, and they can hit edit voice track, and that pulls up their voice tracking widget. But if it's a voice tracking problem, recut your track. Can you recut your track? Is it okay then? If it's okay, you're good to go. All right? If it's a continued problem, then we're going to have to investigate more. Mm-hmm. That's when you dive into logs, or at that point, I guess, I don't know if there's like a main person that you guys go to first, and then who would contact Wide Orbit, depending on what the extent of the issue is. The other thing that you could try is if they're still having a problem, I always say, exit the software. If somebody calls Wide Orbit and says, depending on what the issue is, the first thing I usually ask, if it's a production machine, I ask, did you restart the software? Not the computer, but the software. 9 out of 10, restarting the software will correct whatever issue they may have cropped up, depending on what it is. Okay? So to do that, obviously, it's just menu, exit application. That will exit the software. Now, it's an Air Studio thing, you don't want to exit the software because they're on the air with it. So at that point, if you're going to have to exit the software for any reason, then I guess it's a matter of them making sure that they're on the air with something else,
Right.
CD or whatever, to exit the software. Typically, though, in the Air Studio situation, it depends on what the issue is. You know, if it locks up, well, obviously I'm going to exit the software. If you can't exit the software, you're rebooting the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. From there, why did it lock up? Now that's probably going to end up being a call to Wide Orbit to do some log investigation, because it could have been computer driven. So, again, that's just
Right.
one particular
I have
issue.
a question. If the software freezes, how can we minimize it? to
So
a
just
certain
like
degree?
any Windows program, if you hit the Windows key on the keyboard, that should bring up your start window.
Mm.
And what you can try to do is, the software's down below, you can try to right click and see if you can close it. If it's like won't let you do that,
Shut down the computer.
well, do you guys know how to do? You know how to get to Task Manager, right?
Mhm.
Same deal there. You could, if you have control of the computer still, you could right click on the clock and go to Task Manager and try to end the process. So if I go to Applications, you should see the Wide Orbit there and just try to end it and blow it out. Restart the software. Now, if it's a computer in general, where I'm hitting the Microsoft key and it ain't doing nothing, there's nothing more that you can do than
Hard
go to the
reboot.
hard reboot. Okay. I mean, that's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But don't go right away and do a hard reboot, because we all know that that's not good for a computer. Should always have a proper shutdown. Okay. So if I exit the software, really exit the application, to get back into it, there should be, in this one, there should be like a little radio automation launcher, says a little on-air thing or whatever. You just have to double click that, and then that'll start the software right back up. In all the prod rooms, we'll bring up that screen that we saw here. This one is the only different one. If you double click this one, this is the only one that gives you an option. Always go to production,
Okay.
unless they're having to use the other ones
Gotcha.
for any reason. It's always
Because we
production.
can go to air from this room.
Correct.
Gotcha.
That's why this is a little bit more unique than all the other
Gotcha.
rooms.
Mhm.
So in this case, I'm bringing the production back up, and then it should be good. And like I said, all the software should always be running. They can just minimize it if they're going to use Adobe Edition or something
In
else
every
on their
room,
computer.
we should have
Yes.
this up
Correct.
in the background.
Yep. So I'll show you, once this comes up, I'll show you what ultimately they can do
Okay.
as soon as it comes up. This is another reason why we try to keep it up all the time, because it takes forever
It takes
for
a while,
launch.
yeah.
Because what's happening, and the longer it's down, the longer it takes, because if it was down for a week before you brought it up again, it's going to take even longer to start, because
Uploading stuff.
it's syncing the database. And while it's up, it's always in sync.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So in this case, I can actually minimize it, because the production software I actually activated to have the little minimize icon, so I can actually just minimize it, and there it is rolling down there. And then they can do whatever they're else doing on the computer, and if they need it, they click on it, bring it back up.
Okay.
Okay? That's just kind of an overlay on that one. Okay?